I swear I didn't mean for it to go that far. I didn't wake up one day and think, today I'm going to fall for my father. God, no. It just happened. After Mom passed, we started spending more time together. At first, it was just little things. Dinner on the couch, movie nights, talking about our day. But somewhere in between, comforting each other and trying to survive the silence she left behind, something shifted. I started seeing him differently, like he wasn't just my dad anymore. He was a man, a kind, strong, hurting man, and he was the only one who never broke my heart. The night it happened, I still remember everything. The movie, the way he touched my back when I started crying, the way his lips found my forehead and didn't stop there. And before I knew it, I crossed a line I can never uncross. If you want to know where it all happened, how we went from comfort to something we can never speak about, just listen till the end. I'll tell you exactly how it happened, the night we crossed the line, when everything changed. And please, if today is your first time on our channel, kindly subscribe and press the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily uploads. And for our regular listeners, we appreciate you so much. Thank you for always being here. Now, let's get into the full story. My name is Patricia. I'm 24. And if I'm being real, I don't even know how to begin this story. I've deleted this recording 3 times already because, even now, I can't believe I'm about to admit what I'm about to say. I'm not some girl chasing attention. I'm just a woman who's been through a lot, too much. And after what happened, I'm not the same person anymore. I've been heartbroken 3 times. Not the kind of heartbreak where you cry for a night and move on. I mean the kind where you start to question your worth, where you stare at your phone for hours, hoping the person who promised to love you forever will just text back. The last one broke something in me. He cheated, lied, ghosted me for 2 months, then popped up engaged like I never mattered. After that, I told myself I was done. No more men, no more chances. If I ever needed someone to talk to, I'd talk to my dad. He's always been there, always kind, always calm, my safe place, the only man who never let me down. My dad, he lost the love of his life. My mom passed away 8 months ago, cancer. And since then, he hasn't been the same. I watched the strongest man I know fall apart in the quietest ways. I became his rock. He became mine. We cooked together, cleaned together, sat in silence together. The kind of silence that only 2 broken people can understand. And somewhere in that silence, something started changing. I didn't notice it at first, but it was in the way I lingered too long when he hugged me, the way I looked for his approval, the way I'd smile when he called me beautiful, even when I hadn't showered or done my hair in days. I started to crave him, not just as a father, but as a man. And it scared me. But I pushed those thoughts down because that's what you do, right? You bury the feelings you're not supposed to feel. You keep smiling. You pretend everything's okay. But one night we were watching this movie one my mom used to love, and I started crying. I leaned into him, and he held me tighter than he ever had before. And when I looked up at him, his eyes were already looking at me, not like a daughter, but like a woman. That was the beginning. That was the moment I knew something had already shifted between us. And the worst part is, I didn't want to stop it. When my mom passed, the house changed. I don't even mean the furniture or the decorations. I mean the feeling, the warmth, the scent, the laughter. It all disappeared. She died on a quiet Tuesday morning in the hospital. I still remember the exact way my dad whispered, "It's okay, baby. You can let go." And I watched my mother, my best friend, breathe her last, wrapped in his arms. That image stayed with me. Still does. After the funeral, people came and went. Church ladies brought food we didn't eat. Family members patted our backs with empty words like, "Stay strong," and "She's in a better place." But when the last car drove off and the house was quiet again, that's when the real grieving started. I moved back in with Dad just a few days after. I didn't even think twice about it. He looked so lost, like a man who couldn't remember how to function without her. I couldn't leave him like that. The first few weeks were the hardest. He barely spoke. Most days, he just sat by the window, staring at the street like he was waiting for someone who was never coming. He stopped shaving, stopped cooking, stopped turning the lights on unless I reminded him. I tried to keep things together. I'd cook breakfast, even when neither of us felt like eating. I'd clean the kitchen, organize mail, keep the television on just so the silence wouldn't swallow us whole. But nights were the worst. I'd hear him crying through the wall. Not loudly, not like the sobbing you see in movies. No, this was different, quiet, broken, the kind of crying a man does when he's trying to hold it all in but can't anymore. And I just lay there in my room, hugging my pillow, feeling every tear he refused to let fall during the day. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I got out of bed and walked down the hallway, barefoot. I didn't knock. I just opened the door and walked in. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, shirtless, holding a picture of Mom in his hands. His back was hunched, his eyes red. And for the first time since she passed, he looked old, tired, human. I didn't say a word. I just walked over and wrapped my arms around him from behind. He froze for a moment. Then he broke. He turned around and pulled me into his lap, like he used to when I was little. I hadn't sat like that in years, but it felt natural, familiar. He cried into my shoulder. I held his head against my neck and just let him fall apart. Neither of us said anything for a long time. Eventually, I whispered, "I miss her too, Dad." He just nodded, his voice shaking. She was my everything. I pulled back and looked at him. His eyes were wet and tired, but the way he looked at me, there was something deeper there. Not lust, not desire, just connection, raw, unfiltered connection. That night, I didn't go back to my room. I stayed in his bed, curled up beside him. We didn't touch. We didn't cross any lines. But I laid my head on his chest, and he held me the way he used to hold Mom, tight, safe, like he was afraid I'd disappear too. From that night on, things changed. Not in some huge, dramatic way. It was more subtle. I started spending more time in his room. We'd talk until 2 a.m. about everything. Childhood memories, how he met Mom, the first time she cooked for him and almost burned the chicken, the night he proposed in the rain. He'd smile through tears when he told those stories. And I'd laugh, even as I cried. But every story he told reminded me how deep love could be. And I started to wonder, would I ever have something like that? Or was I just chasing heartbreak after heartbreak, trying to fill a void that no man could reach? I remember one evening we were sitting on the back porch. The sun was setting, casting this golden hue over his face. He looked peaceful and handsome, more than I ever noticed before. I caught myself staring, and that scared me. I quickly looked away, pretending to adjust my blanket. But deep down, I knew something inside me had already started to shift, and I didn't know how to stop it. It happened on a Saturday night. The house was quiet. Rain again. Always rain when something important happens, isn't it? I had just come out of the shower, wrapped in one of those oversized towels that barely stayed up. I didn't expect him to be downstairs, but he was sitting on the couch, reading something on his phone. The television was on low. The room was dim, just the warm glow of the lamp beside him. His eyes lifted the second I walked in, and he looked at me. Not just looked, our eyes met. And in that silence, everything that had been building between us over the past few weeks just sat there, heavy, unspoken. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. I walked past him, feeling the air shift, feeling his eyes follow me, feeling my own heartbeat pulse in places I shouldn't have noticed. I went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and then, like something was pulling me, I turned around and walked back toward him. Still silent, he set his phone down slowly. His eyes stayed on mine, almost like he was asking permission without saying a word, and I nodded, just barely. He opened his arms wide, slow, unsure, and I stepped into them. At first, it was just a hug, familiar, safe. His hand rested on the small of my back. My cheek pressed to his chest. His heartbeat was fast. Mine was faster. But then he pulled back just enough to look at me. His thumb brushed the side of my face, his eyes searching mine. "You're so beautiful," he whispered, barely audible, almost afraid to say it. I should have said something. I should have stopped him. But I didn't. Because when his lips met mine, I kissed him back, soft, slow, like neither of us wanted to accept it. But neither of us wanted it to end. That was the first night, the night we crossed the line. And if you're still listening, what happened after will stay with me for the rest of my life. It happened on a quiet Saturday night, rain tapping the windows, the smell of something warm still lingering from dinner, the kind of night that makes you feel too much. I came downstairs wearing one of his old t-shirts, the soft kind, big enough to swallow me. I didn't plan to wear it in front of him, but I didn't turn back either. I told myself it was harmless. He was on the couch, phone in hand, half watching a movie Mom used to love. The moment I stepped into the room, he looked up, and I'll never forget how his eyes lingered. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't wrong yet, but it wasn't quite right either. I said nothing. Just walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water I didn't really need. But even from the sink, I could feel the air had shifted between us. He didn't speak. I didn't ask why. When I walked back, I didn't head upstairs. I sat beside him instead. The silence between us wasn't heavy. It was soft, like we both knew something was coming, but neither wanted to break it. Then his hand touched my leg gently, not forceful, not hurried, just a simple touch, comfort, maybe familiarity, but in that quiet moment, it felt like more. He looked over at me, his voice low. "Do you want me to stop?" I looked at him, really looked, and for the first time in my life, I didn't just see my father. I saw a man who had loved and lost, a man I knew better than anyone else on this earth. And I shook my head. No, that was the moment, the one where the line disappeared quietly, without warning. We leaned in at the same time. No words, no plans, just two people giving in to something that had been building in silence for weeks. We kissed softly at first, long enough to feel it, short enough to second-guess it. But once it started, it was like everything unspoken rushed in all at once. Grief, loneliness, the desperate need to be close to someone who truly knew your heart. We didn't say a thing, not while it happened, not immediately after. We just sat there, side by side, our heads resting on each other, breathing the same air. And that night I stayed there, not out of impulse, but because it felt like the only place in the world where I didn't feel broken. I know what you're thinking. And yes, we crossed a line, not just emotionally, but physically, intimately, in the quietest, most confusing way imaginable. It didn't feel wild or reckless. It felt heavy, honest, like two people trying to find something that made sense in a world that had fallen apart. I still hear his voice from that night. "I'm sorry," he whispered, and I said it back. But we didn't let go. And that's when I knew this wasn't a mistake we could just pretend never happened. This was a shift, a moment that changed everything. I woke up in his bed. For a split second, I forgot where I was, forgot what had happened. But then I rolled over, and he was still there, eyes open, staring at the ceiling like he hadn't slept at all. Neither of us said anything. We just lay there in silence, wrapped in the same sheets, but miles apart in our thoughts. I could feel the tension in the air, not anger, not shame, just weight, like we were both holding our breath, trying to process what couldn't be undone. He finally spoke. "You hungry?" I nodded a little. We got dressed separately, quietly, and met in the kitchen like it was just another morning, but nothing was the same. He poured coffee. I toasted bread. We moved around each other like strangers, careful not to touch, not to look too long. At one point, our hands brushed when I passed him the butter. We both froze, then looked away. It hurt more than I expected. He sat across from me at the table, stirring his cup over and over, even after the sugar had dissolved. I knew he was searching for words. So was I. But where do you even begin? Finally, I said, "We don't have to talk about it right now." He nodded slowly. "I just don't want to hurt you." "You didn't," I whispered. "Not in the way you think." But the silence after that was louder than any fight could have been. We went on with our day, cleaning, folding laundry, watching the news, pretending. But under every small action was a shared knowing. We had crossed a line, one we couldn't uncross, and neither of us knew what that meant yet. That night, I stayed in my room alone, but I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, wondering how something that felt so real, so tender, could now feel like a storm I couldn't escape. I wanted to talk to him, to ask him what he was thinking, if he regretted it, if he still saw me the same way. but I was scared to know the truth. So I stayed quiet, and so did he. And somehow that hurt more than anything. Days passed. We didn't talk about that night. Not once. We went back to our routines, kind of dinner, television, small talk, but everything felt off like a movie where the sound doesn't match the picture. Sometimes, I'd catch him looking at me when he thought I wasn't paying attention. His eyes would hold mine just a second too long, and I'd look away, heart racing, stomach twisting. I started second-guessing everything. Did he want it? Did he regret it? Did he hate me for not stopping it? Did I hate myself? Some nights, I'd lie in bed and replay the whole thing. Every touch, every look, every word, and I'd cry, not because it was wrong, but because I didn't know what it meant. Was it grief? Was it love? Or were we both just two lonely people trying to feel alive again? One evening, I finally found the courage to speak. We were folding laundry in the living room, something we always did together. He was silent, folding one of my shirts when I said, "Dad." He looked up. "What are we doing?" He stared at me for a long time. Then he sat down slowly. "I don't know," he said. "I think about that night every day, and I still don't know what it means. All I know is I don't regret feeling close to you. I just don't know where we go from here." His voice cracked on that last part, and I couldn't answer either because I felt the exact same way. We sat in silence again, not cold, just lost. I looked at him and whispered, "So what now?" He didn't respond. And the worst part, I didn't know either. So now I'm here, telling this story to people I've never met because I don't know who else to ask. What do I do? We didn't mean to cross that line, but we did. And now we're stuck in this confusing space between comfort and guilt, love and loss. Do I talk to him about it again? Do I pretend it never happened? Or is it possible that what we shared was something real, just born from the wrong place? I need to hear what you think because I'm not sure I trust my own thoughts anymore. If this were you, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. Be honest. I need to know.